Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome. My name is Amy Brownell, and every Tuesday I go live here on YouTube, Facebook, all talking about CFO and advisory services. So, any questions that you've got, that's what we're going to talk about. Today, our specific topic is budgeting and why budgeting is such a bad word. It brings up such negative connotations and what it really is. Let's clear up that confusion. So like I said, I go live here on YouTube every Tuesday and I would love it. Love it, love it, love it and appreciate it. If you would go ahead and hit that subscribe button, that way you're notified when I drop new content, when I put down new videos. Don't want to miss anything. And then if you want to follow me, not only am I here on YouTube, but I'm also on Facebook. You can find the link to the Facebook group down in the description of this video. And you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. And the exciting news is that starting tomorrow, we are having a 3-day challenge. So starting tomorrow at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, we are going to go ahead and we are going to bust it wide open talking about CFO and advisory services. So it's a 3-day challenge. On day one, we are going to talk about what exactly CFO services are and why you can make so much money doing them. We're going to go through some examples. On day two, I'm going to show you how to use a tool that will make you not only super efficient, but that your clients will absolutely adore. They will love the outputs that come out of that thing. And then on day number 3, we are going to talk about finding and landing those high ticket clients. That's what everyone wants to know. Where do you find them? How do you find them? What do you say to them? So that starts tomorrow. You can find the link to enroll to register for the Game Changer Challenge in the description of this video. It is gamechangerchallenge.com/register. So you can find that in the link. Let's get into this thing. So first of all, why does budgeting have such a negative connotation? Well, first of all, a lot of people feel like it feels restrictive, like they're on a diet, but for money. And no one likes dieting, not even for money. So they look at it more from the standpoint of, well, that means I can't spend. That means I have to cut back on expenses. That means I don't get to have coffee with my friends. And none of that is true. Does it mean maybe you need to cut back? Maybe. Maybe it doesn't. But instead of looking at it as I can't spend, we should be looking at it as I would rather spend my money on this as opposed to that. So that is the difference. So number one, feeling a bit restrictive. Number two, as a finance person, I got to tell you, it can be complicated. And if you haven't done it before, I can see how it can get overwhelming. You've got spreadsheets, you've got calculations, you've got data coming at you from different sources. It's a lot. It feels like homework from back in the day when you were in high school. And no one likes doing homework. So I get that one. There's also a bit of a fear of what I'll call, I guess, reality. So, that saying, ignorance is bliss. Well, if you don't know what you're spending and what your income looks like, you can kind of go through life and be like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if it's good or if it's bad. So I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. But when you find out where your money's really going, that tends to force some difficult decisions, difficult conversations. So if you think about that in terms of your personal life, let's say your married spouse is a saver, you are a spender, those two clash sometimes. And so having conversations around what are the most appropriate ways to spend, what do we want to achieve with our money, sometimes those are difficult, but they don't have to be. They don't have to be. There is also some how do I want to say, guilt, I guess, associated with overspending. Like you feel guilty. You've seen those movies where there's someone who's shopping a ton and they're hiding packages and bags and all of their new stuff. Well, that is something that a lot of people feel. They're hiding it because they feel guilty because they know that they've overspent. So definitely understand that one. But there's nothing to feel guilty about. There's nothing to feel shame about. Everyone has times in their life where they overspend. They also have times where they underspend. So just having that conversation. And then finally, the whole concept of short-term pain for long-term gain. So humans, unfortunately, are not wired to really deal well with the concept of, well, I have to do something difficult, hard, painful now, but I'm going to see the result of that in 3, 6, 12 months. So it's really difficult to go through that short-term pain, even when it is a beneficial thing in the long term, because that's just not how we're wired as humans. So what can we do about all this? Well, let's talk about a budget. Let's talk about what it is, why it's important, why a lot of these misconceptions about how a budget makes you feel and what it does. Let's talk about why those are sometimes not entirely accurate. We want to be breaking down some of those false beliefs. So first of all, what in the world is a budget? Well, a budget's just a plan for your money. That's literally it. It's just a plan. It says, this is how much I expect to make, how much money will come in, and this is how much money I expect to go out, how much money I expect to spend. So money in, money out. That's it. Just a plan. So to break that down a little bit further, I want you to think of a budget in 3 pieces, 3, let's call it buckets. So that first bucket is called income. Now, in your personal life, things in that income bucket would be things like your W-2 salary or your 1099 salary if you're a contractor, client fees, things like that. In a business, it's the sales that they realize from selling their products or services. So every transaction that happens at the register or online, those are considered sales, and those fit into the income bucket. So that's bucket number 1, income. Bucket number 2, expenses. This is where a lot of us are very familiar. Expenses is the money that goes out. So income money coming in, expenses money going out. And the things on a personal standpoint that fall into that expense bucket are your rent, your utilities, your internet connection, food, things like that. So expenses. From a business standpoint, it's rent. It's how much you have to pay your employees. It's how much you have to pay for all the different software products that you use. So all of that is money going out. And then finally, we have the third bucket, which is profit. And that's just what's left. Income minus expenses. That's all. What money is left. So think of it like this. The goal isn't to be perfect, isn't to guess what we think these numbers are going to be perfectly. Sorry about that. It's really more along the lines of, this is a rough idea of what should be happening and a rough idea of what we should be spending. So it helps us from a business standpoint not overspend because we have a plan in place, and it helps us have that money so we know, because we're not overspending, it allows us to grow and do something meaningful for the business with that money, whether it's grow, maybe it's buy a piece of equipment, maybe it's hire an employee, whatever that looks like. So the process is very easy when you're talking about doing a budget. A budget, like I said, 3 buckets: income, expense, profit. And you always start with, you don't always start, but the most common way to start is using your prior year actuals. So right about now, maybe a little bit further into Q4, we're going to go ahead and start doing budgeting for the next year. And when we do that, we are going to use the current year actuals and forecast as a starting point. This is what we did last year. And then you're going to look at that income bucket and determine, okay, well, what are some ways that we can grow that income bucket? Can we increase prices? Can we sell more? What does that look like? And then we move over to our expenses. What expenses do we absolutely have to pay? Well, I don't know about you guys, but I got to pay rent or I don't get a place to live, which is, I would like a place to live. And things like like I said, utilities, insurance, the stuff that has to be paid. Maybe you also have a little bucket in there within that expense bucket for growth or hiring that new employee or buying that piece of equipment because it's going to increase revenue. It's going to increase that income bucket. So you've got your income, you've got your expenses, and now we got to see what's left. Profit. So profit, what is left after we take the money that came in, income, the money that went out, expenses, what's left for us to do? And I think a good way to think about this is think about a family vacation. So most people don't wake up one day and say, we're going on vacation today. They plan for it in advance. They save up money. They maybe reduce some of their expenses. They maybe don't spend so much on that coffee every day, whatever that looks like. They're trying to save money to put toward that vacation. So think of it as your income from your job, that paycheck that you get from your job. You are going to put all of that into your vacation fund. But there's also expenses that have to come out of there. So you still have to pay your rent, even if you're going to go on vacation. And there's expenses related to the trip. There's gas, there's food, there's fun. And we got to account for how much all of that is going to cost. And then at the end of the day, what's left over is the profit. So that is the amount of money that's left over for us to have fun. So if we do a good job and we save some of our money from our paycheck, or we cut some of our expenses, we have more money left over for fun. Who doesn't want more fun? Everyone wants more fun. So that is an easy way to think about a budget. Think about it as a family vacation and trying to have as much fun at the end of it as you can. All right, so that about sums it up. I have really enjoyed talking about budgeting with you. Quick reminder, so if you have questions, if you have comments, go ahead and post them in the comment section of this video, and I will make sure that they get answered. Same with Facebook. Go ahead and post your comment. Definitely want to make sure I get those answered, so feel free. And then, like I said, we are live here every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern, at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on YouTube. We're also live on Facebook, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Don't forget, we have our 3-day challenge coming up starting tomorrow. That link is in the description of this video, gamechangerchallenge.com/register. So go ahead and I will see you tomorrow. That challenge, remember, we're going to go through the whole kit and caboodle. We are going to talk about what CFO services are. We're going to dig into a tool to show you exactly how to work efficiently and wow your clients. I'm going to show you exactly how to get clients. Very cool stuff. So definitely want to make sure you register. Again, gamechangerchallenge.com/register. And that is it. We will see you next Tuesday here on YouTube. Have a good one.